Males, we rely on testosterone for the production of muscle mass during heavy workouts. When we reach puberty, our voice begins to deepen, and it also helps maintain strong bones. So, what exactly? To begin with, what is testosterone? Testosterone is a hormone that is most potent naturally occurring androgen that regulates the development of the male reproductive system and the male secondary sex characteristics. Testosterone is mainly produced in the testes and is also used as a drug of the treatment of certain medical disorders. In the definition of testosterone, I mentioned androgen. To understand testosterone, I must explain androgen, which is a steroid hormone that controls and develops and maintains masculine characteristics. Androgens do things like promote enlargement of skeletal muscles and influences human behavior. Androgens alone are capable of altering brain structure. Testosterone is a type of androgen. In this image above, it explains how testosterone production begins in the brain. The hypothalamus detects a deficiency of testosterone in the blood and secretes the hormone gonadotropin, which then releases to the pituitary gland. This then starts the pituitary to secrete luteinizing hormones, which then fuel the Leydig cells in the testes to produce testosterone.
Testosterone production. The hypothalamus releases gonadotropin-releasing hormone, or GnRH, in pulses every 60 to 90 minutes to stimulate the pulsatile release of luteinizing hormone, LH, from the pituitary gland into the bloodstream. LH binds the LH receptor on the Leydig cells of the testes. Binding initiates a cascade of events, which include the conversion of cholesterol, depicted as LDL here, to pregnenolone, followed by a series of reactions, which convert pregnenolone to testosterone.
Dehydroepiandrosterone, or DHEA, is a hormone produced by your body's adrenaline gland. DHEA functions as a precursor to males and female sex hormones, including testosterone. DHEA production peaks in males around the mid-20s. In most males, productions gradually decline with age. This correlates with male testosterone levels, which peak. Low testosterone is when there is an abnormally low level of male sex hormone testosterone in the blood. The bottom of a man's total testosterone is about 300 nanograms per deciliter. The upper limit is about 800 nanograms per deciliter. A lower than average test score can be caused by conditions like hormonal disorders, infections, HIV or AIDS, injury to the testicles, or obesity. Naturally, when a man hits about the age of 30, his testosterone levels begin to decline. When testosterone levels drop, males can suffer anything or the varieties like constant fatigue, depression, obesity, increased risk of osteoporosis, low sex drive, and trouble concentrating and memorizing things. Out of the list of effects, I will focus on depression. Depression is due to the shortening of the CAG repeat track in the androgen receptor gene. CAG is a chemical active binding group. The enzymes peroxidase and urese are associated with CAG. CAG is an active site where the substrate and the enzyme urese and peroxidate activate. The androgen receptor gene is the gene encoding the androgen receptor that intervenes with the effects of androgen on various cell types. The shorter the CAG repeat track in the androgen receptor gene, the shorter the polyglutamine stretch of the androgen receptor protein. The androgen receptor is a type of nuclear receptor, which are a class of proteins within the cell that sense steroid hormones and work with other proteins to regulate the expression of a specific gene.
Testosterone, secreted by the testes, diffuses into the peripheral circulation to be carried to target tissues. In liver, muscle, and adipose tissue, testosterone binds directly to its androgen receptor, or AR, to exert its biological effect. In skin, hair, the prostate gland, and gonadal tissue, testosterone must be converted to dihydrotestosterone, or DHT, by 5-alpha reductase in order to bind the androgen receptor. In bone and brain, testosterone is converted by aromatization to estradiol, or E2, which binds the estrogen receptor, E2R, to carry out its effects.
The purpose of androgen receptors are to signal in the cell when to dissociate from accessory proteins and translocate in the nucleus and combine with similar molecules to form a dimer. And lastly, stimulate transcription of an androgen-responsive gene.
Steroid hormones are not water-soluble. They travel in the blood attached to protein carriers. When steroid hormones arrive at their target cells, they dissociate from their protein carriers and pass through the plasma membrane of the cell. Some steroid hormones bind to specific receptor proteins in the cytoplasm and then move as a hormone receptor complex into the nucleus. Other steroids travel directly into the nucleus before encountering their receptor proteins, not shown. The hormone receptor protein, activated by binding to the hormone, is now able to bind to specific regions of the DNA. These DNA regions are known as the hormone response elements. The binding of the hormone receptor complex has a direct effect on the level of transcription at that site.
Co-activators are able to bind easily to the receptors with short repeat tracks, making men with long CAG repeat tracks less susceptible to depression. Depression is more common in hypogonadism patients. Hypogonadism is a problem in the hypothalamus gland where the part of the brain signals the testes to produce testosterone. Overall, to sum everything up, with depression in men, CAG is a codon where the enzymes peroxidase and urease act on. When testosterone levels decline naturally over the years, these CAG repeat tracks become shortened. Coactivators, which are proteins that increase gene expression by binding to activators, are able to bind easily to receptors with short repeat tracks, making men with long CAG repeat tracks less likely to suffer the effects of depression.